Drinks, food, art, fun. This is Hops and Spirits Kentucky.
Joining us for our Q&A this week as we continue on with our Whiskey Week celebration, our Ode to National Bourbon Heritage Month, we have someone that you might say, wait, I didn't think they were in Kentucky. Well, guess what? They're going to be here soon. And we welcome in the CEO of Bespoken Spirits, Peter Iglesias. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Jonathan, thank you. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be cool to be able to share some of this stuff. I know you guys have kind of officially announced your move to Lexington and where you're headed, and we'll get into that along with all the juice that you guys are making. But first, a little bit about you. I call this the Cliff Notes version, just a little bit about us because I got some good questions to ask.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm born and raised born in New Jersey, but raised in South Florida. Kind of a self-built person, paid my way through college and, just worked really hard. I've been in the spirits and wine industry for over 20 years. Learned a lot, worked for some incredible companies, incredible people that have really given me the tools to be where we are today. And all of a sudden I joined Bespoken Spirits here a little more than a year ago, and it's been one heck of a ride. It's been unbelievable. Lots of exciting things coming in the future. So we're pumped. We're pumped to come to Lexington. I'll tell you that.
Well, I have a feeling Lexington is going to be very excited. And I'm always curious about this, too, because it's interesting when you ask folks how they got into the alcohol industry, the spirits industry, wine. And it's always funny because I swear everyone has a different story. It could be, well, I needed this side job or I needed this. And next thing you know, you meet people and you end up having a career. How was it for you to get into this crazy world that is alcohol?
Yeah. I love telling this story, by the way. Paying my way through college, I was a bartender, and I was working on the weekends, and I was just always fascinated with cocktails and spirits in general. And then I graduated college. My first job was in pharmaceutical sales, so I got this really incredible foundation in sales to learn how to manage a territory, understand your product, talk about, why this product should work for you, etc. And I, frankly, I hated it. And so I said, you know what, let me take a step back and let me rethink things. And I went back to work managing a bar of all things. I'm in my early 20s here, and all of a sudden I start meeting these liquor reps coming to visit me, and they're all like, you would be great at this job. So that's, lo and behold, I started out working for NDC in Florida, transitioned over to the Diageo division at Southern Glacier, and just started working with different suppliers, Flor de Caña rum. That's really where I kind of fell in love with this industry, frankly, because I got an opportunity to build something from its infancy stages. And it was a great product, high quality, and it's almost like having a child and watching it grow and be born into this world, right? And so that's where I found my passion in this industry. And then I went to work for some bigger companies, managing director at Di Serono, created a company from there. We became our own import company, and that was a great learning. And then I went over to De Kuyper and worked for Royal Dutch Distillers, ran their entire operation, built the entire team. And then I ended up here at Bespoken. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how this whole this whole thing ended up here, man. So it's been an adventure. Sure.
Yeah. I love it because, I mean, I feel like that's how so many people, because it's not like you can take well, nowadays you can take classes on getting into the alcohol industry, but back, 5-10 years ago and longer, that wasn't the case. And usually it was, hey, I'm just going to go there and ask if I can get some work, or you meet the right people. And it's cool to see where it led you. And now you talked about a lot of other brands, rums and wine, things like that. Were you a fan of, when did whiskey get in there for you? And have you been a fan of whiskey all your life, or is that an acquired taste later on?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I think we all kind of start off with the clear spirits, and it's a little easier to tolerate, a little easier to mix. And so, yeah, gin and vodka early on. But when I I started learning about aged spirits when I went to work for Flor de Caña, the rum, and they had some phenomenal aged spirits. And so I kind of fell in love with the brown spirit right there. And then I went over and I was working for Di Serono, and that was more of a something that you add to a cocktail. So I started doing things like Godfathers, and so that's where the passion came in. And then I really started dabbling into bourbons and whiskeys, and falling in love with, man, yeah, each one of these has their own distinct flavor profile, and there wasn't one that I ever disliked. And I hate to say that on a podcast, but there's a lot of good whiskey out there, and each of them, we all have our own distinct flavor profile that we love, and I don't think anybody's wrong to like or dislike something. It's up to you. It's your own personal choice.
Well, and then you made the choice to go to Bespoken. I've had the pleasure of talking with Martin and Stu a while back when they kind of first launched on a flight night, tried some stuff. But obviously, they're doing some different things in the industry. What drew you to take on the role as CEO there?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love telling this story too, ironically. But so I'm in this role at DeKuyper, and I'm the COO, and I'm kind of cruising in, and it's great. No, I had no ambition to leave. I was very happy, very content, and so yeah, they had a recruiter call me up that I've known for 20 years in this industry, and he's like, "I think you should check this out. This is kind of right up your alley. You've built companies, you've built brands, and this is something that is disruptive to the industry. This is something that's very different. There's people out there doing it, but this is a little different than that. And I think there's something big here." So I went ahead and I spoke to Martin, and I spoke to some of the people on the board. And these are some fascinating human beings, man. They were just super intelligent. And I think what they needed was just somebody to kind of, like myself, who has the experience of dealing with this really complex U.S. distribution world that we're in. And they were challenged in a lot of ways to, and it kind of stunted things. So when I heard the story, when I heard the tech, heard all about the technology, and heard their challenges, it excited me. It got me amped up. And you get really comfortable in life and in the positions that you're in, and I hadn't felt that excitement in a few years, to be honest. And so it got me excited, and then I was like, okay, I have got to taste this stuff, because I can't take a job and not like what I'm drinking, right? And sure enough, I tasted it, and I was blown away. I don't know if I would call myself a whiskey guru, but I will tell you, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, and it's been a lot of fun. So I accepted the role, and clearly had a huge job to do in kind of reorganizing, getting things up and running, and getting the right people in place. And so sorry about that. It was just a process. The first 6 months to a year, it's an arduous situation. You really got to put a lot of work in, and it's a lot of just stabilizing and building a foundation to build a successful company and brand towards. So we've done an incredible job. My team has done an amazing job this year. I'm so proud of them. And we've come a long way. We've launched 5 SKUs this year. We've launched 10 states this year. We're going to open a new facility this year. So we've done more in 1 year than most companies do in like 4 or 5 years, right? So it's been an adventure, like I said.
Well, it seems very fitting with what you guys do in terms of kind of reimagining the process and kind of, not, I don't want to say speeding up, because I don't think you can ever truly speed up what a whiskey is, but you guys take a whole different approach. And without getting too into the details and anything proprietary, how does the process work, and why does it work, and why was it something they wanted to do?
Yeah, so without giving up secrets, like you said,
I mean, like you can, but I don't think you should.
In essence, finish it differently. So we can take something that's 2 years old and make it taste like 10 years old. How do we know that? Because we enter competitions, like real competitions in San Francisco and New York, World of Whiskies, and we keep making great tasting whiskey and winning awards for it. So I like to tell people, instead of putting the bourbon in the barrel or the whiskey in the barrel, we put the barrel in the whiskey. So we use our wood staves. It's this controlled environment where we control heat, pressure, time, and the overall, and any kind of movement, any shaking, stirring, whatever that might be. And that's where the magic happens. And what fascinated me most about the process is we have like these thumbprints of different taste profiles, and we have thousands. So it's really cool to see, hey, if somebody comes to us and says, I want something that's smoky, sweet, maybe some orange zest, and we have all the data to support this. And it's funny, you talked about Martin, and an incredible engineer, PhD, just brilliant mind. Putting this together, it's pretty simple, but it's not. It's pretty complex at the same time. But he did a brilliant job with this, putting this technology together, and to have the vision to be able to do something like this. And then, my job now is to take the ball and get it out to the market and get people comfortable with the technology, get people to taste it. And, not everybody's going to love it. You're always going to have people that are going to be naysayers. This is an industry steeped in tradition, I like to say. And, so not everybody's going to go, oh, this is brilliant. This is not, but that's part of the game, and we're very confident, and I'm cautiously optimistic that this will resonate because of all the good things that come out of this and this process, and, helping the environment and just doing it. I think at the end of the day, if you can save hundreds of millions of dollars, trees, wood, electricity, you got to take a good look at it, especially if you're making a quality product.
And I was going to say, at the end of the day, it does come down to what's in the bottle. And I guess the question you probably get a lot of is it whiskey? Is it bourbon? Is it rye? Is it true by the definition that we see day to day?
Yeah, it is. And we have to go, like everybody else, we have to go through TTB to get it approved. And, so we meet all the requirements, for us. And I really important that people understand this. We're not trying to change the old ways. We're just introducing another way. And I think we finish it in a way that makes incredible tasting juice. And that's ultimately what we all want. We're not trying to change the world overnight here, but we're trying to show folks that this is a quality product, and this is a really great technology that is going to help us in the long run, and help the industry in the long run, I believe. So that's who we are, and that's how we're going to keep going forward here.
So it is at least that 2 years old on all of them.
Yeah, well, it's not on all of them. So by definition, the bourbon itself has to be in the oak barrel for at least 3 months. And so that's what it is. Again, we have our rye has 2-year-old, and we have certain things that have, and we create things too as well. So our core SKUs all have different juice in it from the start. But ultimately what makes it taste good, in my opinion, is the process itself. And so that's who we are. Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned on that process that it is more sustainable. It is better for the environment. Why was that something y'all really focused on with this strategy? Because, as the new generation of drinkers come aboard, that is something that they are kind of curious about and want to see.
Yeah, 100% agree with that statement. We don't use any additives in what we're doing. So it's not like we're, doing some voodoo to hate with. I mean, so it's really a process thing. And for us, think of the world that we're living in today, Jonathan. It's everybody is cognizant of ESG. These huge publicly traded companies, um, they're asked. They want people. The shareholders want to understand, how are they improving? How are they getting better? What are you doing to not chop down hundreds of thousands of trees? What are you doing to save energy and water and wood? And so people know who we are. I've talked to all of the major companies, and they are very keen on our technology. They want to know more about it. And that being said, it just shows me that we're onto something here. Because if you let's just take, for example, the storage of, I don't know how many millions of barrels a year. If you can take something that's 2 years old and not have to age it another 3 years, 5 years, whatever it might be, and you can use this process to finish it, think of how much you're going to save in storage. Oh, by the way, angel share, all these different things that make a lot of sense. And I think companies now in our industry are thinking that way, and they have to. Well, they don't have to, but I think a lot of them will adapt over time, and they will make some changes going forward. And at least I feel that way.
Well, it's always interesting to see where it goes, because so much is changing, and it's not like this industry can change super quick with
Yeah,
what goes into everything, just kind of by the laws and the standards. But you mentioned you got
exactly.
5 SKUs out there now, and
Hmm.
a couple of 3 of them are yours
Yes.
specifically. I believe with the name. If you're watching, you can see I got the Bespoken Bourbon, the
Hmm.
Bespoken Rye,
Hmm.
and then the American whiskey as well. So can you talk a little bit about those three and how they came to be?
Yeah. So the first thing that I recognized when I came over here is, um, they had, I believe they had 9 SKUs came over. And for me, when you're building a brand, um, not just building a brand, but you're introducing a new technology. If you give too many options, it becomes confusing to the consumer. Let's face it. We live in a consumer's world today, and the options are abundant.
Hmm.
So I immediately said, okay, we've got to shrink this down to a core 3 SKUs. Okay. And with all three are award winning, double gold medal winning. And I said, and I also changed the packaging, because frankly, it was a lot different earlier before I came. And so we wanted to go a little more classy, high end, premium looking, and put our what we thought to be the best juice that we had in these bottles. And so that was the core foundation to, obviously you want a bourbon, you want a whiskey, and you want a rye. I think that it's, for the category, those are the core that you want to go to. We can do a lot of unique things. We can start with some Japanese whiskey and finish it and make it taste amazing. We can do rum. We can do anything. And that gets me excited for the future, because once we introduce this and get this and hopefully rolling in the right direction, and people are aware of it and consumers are buying it and calling for it, then you can start adding those pieces to the puzzle, and say, hey, Bespoken also has a rum. And, so it's cool. It's an exciting process. So yeah, back to your earlier question, I think it was a matter of simplifying it and being hyper focused on a core group of SKUs to really get the technology um, out to people, not confuse them, because you don't want to overbear people with too much information, because they'll shut off typically. And I think it's keep the message very simple and concise. And at the end of the day, we're making great tasting, award winning whiskey, and that's the bottom line.
Well, and you make a great point on the bottle. This is that was one of the first things I noticed. I was like, ooh, I like the
Yeah.
label. I like the look. And for those that are watching, if you can see, I'll put it up there. That is a very dark color that I was not expecting on the rye and the bourbon,
Hmm.
more so than maybe the American whiskey. It's still darker, but those two, when they're just sitting here, I'm like, That looks like it's been in a barrel for a good while, and
Yeah.
on the taste that I think you can get that because there are some really good flavors there. And how has that? I mean, I know the awards are there, but obviously at the end of the day, it's the consumers. And how has that feedback gone when you finally have had that chance to get liquid to lips?
Yeah, it's been overall, it's been positive. Like we talked about earlier, it's you're never going to be loved by everybody, and I think that's part of any process of introducing something new. Um, and we're not going to sit here and frown upon that. It's okay. I think overall we have launched. So for me, I look at a key indicator. I think key indicators are states like California, Texas, and Florida. And also you look at New York and Illinois. But to me, also Kentucky. We just launched Kentucky, I want to say 3 weeks ago with RNDC. And so I'm excited to see how that rolls out. But to answer your question, we have seen really good results in Florida and Texas. Those are huge markets where we're getting distribution out there. And people get a little confused sometimes. Oh, you sold 1,000 cases, but if it doesn't rotate, it doesn't matter. And so we've been very precise in this is where my expertise from a commercial standpoint comes in and bringing in the right people, because you got to these relationships with your distributor partners are critical. And the last thing you want to do is load in distributors. They're sitting on inventory. And so we're really building it organically and doing the right things by the brand, getting the liquid into the mouths of consumers. So whether it's on premise or off premise, we're highly focused on a core group of accounts and making sure that, hey, these are the right partners to help grow this technology in these brands.
Well, and then you've got a cool, in addition to those three, you've got a cool thing that you guys have launched
Yep.
over the last 3 months, and that's the artisan partnerships. How did that come to be? And we'll talk about the two here in a second, but how did that come to be, and why was that something that you guys wanted to do?
Yeah. So, in any startup company, the biggest challenge is raising funds, right? So it takes time to build a brand organically. It takes a lot of money, it takes patience, and it takes time. So, building the Bespoken brand, we all recognize that that's not something that's going to happen in an instant. So, it came to my attention that we had an opportunity to build another division to the company, and it's the artist partnership division. And we work hand in hand. It's one of our board members is Bruce Kalmick from a group called Why and How, based out of Austin, Texas. They are an entertainment management group involved in some of the biggest country acts in the world, and they're also connected to a lot of athletes and entertainment folks. So it was my feeling that if you can build a brand with our technology, because we can do it fast. I can send off 10 samples of stuff that you think that you describe to me, and you can pick one and that we can have it. As opposed to if you go to a big, whiskey company, they're saying, come back in 3 years, we'll see you later. And so for us, we had that advantage. So it kind of brought me to the conclusion that, okay, if we can sign a couple of huge artists, big artists a year, have a built-in consumer base, that's a built-in revenue stream for us to support the brand building and technology building of the Bespoken end of things. So it acts almost as an enabler. So your revenue is going to shoot up. It can support the continued process of brand building. So that was my Frankenstein moment when I first came over, and it was, so far it's worked out really well. I think this. We signed Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we're doing the 50-year anniversary, and they have Hell House, and then we have Whiskey Myers, which is another country rock kind of Texas-based band, and then we launched Uncle Chicken, which is their creation and their name, and it's I love the juice in that, and it's fantastic. So, so two interesting, similar but different. One's more iconic and been around for 50 years. It's a whole nother generation singing the music, and then you've got this up and coming, possibly the next Lynyrd Skynyrd in Whiskey Myers. So, we've seen a great growth with both. We just launched both of them late July. We're seeing, fantastic revenue from both of them, and it's kind of all coming together now. My goal is when we do the grand opening of Greyline, I would like at least one of those bands there signing their bottles for a grand opening party and maybe ribbon cutting kind of thing. So that's my vision. I feel like these folks can really take the technology out to the world here and kind of show everybody, yeah, this is good stuff, and we support it and we're a part of it.
No, it was awesome. We got to on our sister podcast, Bar Conversations. We got to share a drink. Well, Jeff wasn't drinking before the show. He was going to save that for after. But it was fun to talk to them about it, and then obviously the Hell House here as well. And it's cool to see because, like you said, it is good juice and it's fun. And I also enjoyed just the names, they're fun. The Uncle Chicken sipping whiskey, that is pure Whiskey Myers, fun, silly, kind of having a good time, and then obviously Hell House for Lynyrd Skynyrd, yeah. And you talk about that move to Lexington and Greyline, and maybe having one of them there. I mean, how important was it for you guys, or why did you decide to leave California? Or you haven't technically left yet, I guess. You're in the process of moving everything to Lexington. Why move and why come into Lexington and then Greyline Station?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, clearly, economics played a big part of this. The cost of doing business in California is astronomical, and we're not your typical tech company. We're not Facebook. And you're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that these people can come up with. We're a spirits company with some technology to it, and so for me, that was the first thing that I felt like we really needed to address, because the cost of doing business was, I've managed many P&Ls in my time, and it's, to see those numbers, I almost fell out of my chair. And and also, we chose Lexington because, Lexington really welcomed us with open arms, and they were so easy to, that's a nice feeling for somebody who wants you, in their community and to be a part of it. And that to me is monumental. Because in California, it's not like that. And not to throw dirt on California, it's just it's like a whole new country, another country, man. It's massive. And so a small little company like ours isn't even on the radar. Whereas we come into Lexington and they have welcomed us with open arms. And it's been a pleasure. And the community I think the community environment is just completely different. It's much more, I don't know if I'd call it, Midwest/South kind of feel to it. And people are very kind and generous and, and open to this technology. I think it's, you have a young dynamic here with UK, right down the street from us. And I think that next generation, like we talked about earlier, they're all aware of, doing what's right for the environment. And if we can do it better, we should probably find a way. And so, yeah, that's why we're in Lexington. I mean, we looked at other places, but I personally fell in love with it. I now have a home in Lexington, so getting back and forth from Florida to Lexington. Yeah.
Well, good. Hopefully we will be able to run into each other on occasion. And then you mentioned obviously the home base will be Greyline, where I assume tasting rooms and things like that. And then probably a second site for some of the other stuff. But when are you hoping to? Obviously things change and you never know exactly when. It's hard to put a date this far out. But when are you hoping to get in Lexington and have something there at Greyline?
Yeah, so we have already moved our lab and our offices to Greyline. So everything's there. It's not built out yet. Um, we will have the production facility online before the end of this year. So we will start producing. My hopes are in December of this year. Um, it's that when we start producing, we will also be putting a still in the production facility. That's not so much to produce the juice ourselves. It's more about using that juice to work with our R&D. Like, let's face it, what makes us different from everybody else is our technology. And so we will continue to invest and we will continue to get better in R&D and continue to make better tasting spirits. It's like, I think people get complacent over time. They have something that works, and they just keep going with it and never improve it. I think the key to any successful company is continuous improvement. And I think the key to that for us is through R&D and having some incredible minds in R&D working through this and getting better day in and day out. Um, Again, I think what makes us different is the technology. If not, we're just another bourbon or another rye on the shelves, and we've got to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing and advertising for the next 10 years to have any kind of impact and be a part of this. So, we're going to focus on that, and R&D is going to be the true trigger for us, I think.
And then when you do finally get that tap room open, or not tap room, the tasting room and kind of that side of things, what will people be able to expect and kind of see while they're there? Because obviously, it is a little bit different what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're aware, but so in Greyline, we will have our tasting room and retail space. In that retail space, we have a $600,000 kitchen that was made for television and like for cooking shows. So we're gonna we're gonna use that to our advantage. We'll probably do a lot of food pairings with our whiskeys and and do some cooking shows. But overall, that will be part of it. But we're still in the developmental stages of what that experience is going to look like. We are this close to hiring somebody who I think is a rock star for this position, and he's local, Lexington. Um, Love this guy, and maybe we'll talk again, and I can introduce him on the next time. But overall, yeah, that that will be we'll share some of the technology. We'll talk about it. I'm certain of that. I think you have to. But across Greyline, there's a whole nother building warehouse where we'll have our production facility there and our distilling, and we'll have our bottling line there too. We're still small enough that we can do that and fit everything in there. Um, but once we hit that 100,000 case mark, that may change quickly. But yeah, so people will have the opportunity not just to see the retail space and where we do our seminars and things of that nature in the kitchen. They'll have an opportunity to walk across the parking lot and actually go into our area where we work our magic too, and see the still and see the where the process is happening in the bottling line and stuff. So it's pretty neat to have everything all in one area, and I think people will enjoy it. We want to do something special there for sure.
Well, I'm excited to see what becomes of everything at Greyline. They've got some exciting changes happening there with just the ever evolving nature of these things, and it's cool to see y'all there. And you touched on this as well at the beginning, or kind of as we've talked. And I guess my last question is what does the future look like for y'all? Is it more releases as things make sense? Is it more partnerships with artists and things like that? Is that kind of the future, and then hopefully branch out a little bit further into other spirits as well?
Yeah, definitely. I like we talked about. The first year or two is laying the foundation and making sure that you're not doing too much too fast, and making sure what you do it the right way. And I we will have a special edition come out next year for the holiday season. Something that we've been kind of working on. It'll be another SKU, but it'll be a limited amount of product made and offered. It'll probably more than likely it'll be an e-commerce push. But we will definitely do that next year. The plan is to have another 2 artist partnerships next year. I will say at least 1 for sure. What we will do is probably 1 very, very big artist next year. We're in negotiations right now contractually to sign 1. And there are some smaller tiered artists that we're talking to as well. So, that's the goal. So if you think about it, potentially this time next year, we could have 4 SKUs for Bespoken and then 4 artist partnerships all at the same time. And you have 8 SKUs, and that's exciting. Yeah, and that's that is what the future looks like for us. We'll keep building, we'll keep growing as long as people are receptive to it. And we want to do we just want to make great whiskey, and we want people to love it, and that's our hopes. So we'll keep doing that, and we'll see what happens.
Well, so far so good. Like I said, I really, my 2 favorites were obviously the rye. I'm a sucker for a rye. That's kind of my go-to. But the bourbon was very flavorful, and I also just enjoyed the Uncle Chickens as well. There's something about that one that stood out for me. And like I said, like you said, everyone has different taste profiles, so it's worth giving every one of them a try if you can. And Peter, sounds like you guys have some exciting things coming, and I appreciate you sharing it all with us.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I'm excited to be in Lexington soon.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.